Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnana Murtim Dvandvatitam Gagan Sadrisham Tattvamasya Lakshyan Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunaraitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adorations to the Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasishtha Utpatti Prakarana, section 7. Insight into attaining enlightenment. The central theme of all scriptures, and is the highlight of Yoga Vasishtha. Sri Rama asks, Ya esha devah katito yasmin jnate vimuchyate vadakvasau stito brahman kathame namaham labhe. Who is that God whose knowledge leads one to liberation? Where does that God abide? God of gods. How am I to attain? It's a clear question. Try to also understand. All over the world, people talk about God. Of course, those who are nihilists, they close their ears. But one thing is undeniable, that everyone believes in something. It's a common denominator of belief. Even the worst doubter, he doubts everything, but cannot doubt the doubter. See, I am the doubter. Someone says, no, think again. Say, oh no, I'm doubter. I don't believe in God. And that's my direct experience. But think of it, what he is doing. He is admitting to something that's undeniable. So no one, not with the worst doubter, can deny the basic existence. If you are a doubter, you are existing as an individual. The very understanding of that is a belief. That's called asti. You do believe in existence. Nasti, you don't believe in it. How much nasti you can say, but asti is your existence. Simple way of saying, you can't doubt a doubter. A doubter can't negate himself. A doubter can doubt everything, not himself. So, coming back now, where is that God and how am I to attain it? Another point to understand, that God is stated in different ways. Ekam sat bahudha vadanti. Truth is one, but sages speak of the truth in different ways. Just to remind you of simple parable I always give. thirsty people. They had a shipwreck and they found themselves in a desert. And one thing that became their problem, they were thirsty. And so each one started stating. Englishman says, I want water, water. Spanish starts saying, agua, agua, agua. The Sanskrit one says, jalam, jalam. And they look at each other and it's tremendous anger. It's such a simple thing. You need water. What's water? What agua? That's the predicament of the masses. When they hear the word Brahman, yoga, Ishwari, God, nirvana, salvation, kingdom of heaven, Vaikuntha, being with Vishnu. Oh no, Shiva, Kailash. Human mind goes into tremendous distraction. But behind all that, they are saying the same thing. You want absolute fulfillment, param tripti. So that God, the Supreme Self, that's the goal of life. And now the question arises, what should I do to attain the goal of life? Should I go to Badri Kedar? Go to different sacred places? And how? How am I to realize God? Ya esha devah kathito naisha dure vatishthate sharire sanstito nityam chinmatra miti vishruta. Sage Vasishtha says, that God, who is God of gods, exists in every individual. Absolutely. That God is all-permeating existence. Now, even that description is allegorical. If there is all, then there is a question of permeating. When you are dreaming, every dream experience is permeated by your consciousness. The dream names and forms of your dream, dream objects, figuratively can be described as being permeated by consciousness. Figuratively. The reality is consciousness alone is. Just like you watch a lake and you see trees reflecting, even birds. You look into the lake and the bird from one reflection jumping into another tree, in another reflected tree. All that you are seeing within the lake is permeated by the lake. That's again allegorical. All things that you are seeing in the lake, that doesn't exist. Lake alone is. All things you are conscious of, they are reflections in absolute consciousness. And as long as your mind is limited, like a child looking at reflections and asks a father, what's behind all those reflections? The father says, water, just water. A child develops this. Every tree there, somehow water penetrates him. But that's a childish way. Reality, reflections are your mistake. Your vision is not correct. So even this, the description that God permeates all. God is the knower of past, present, and future. All these are to suit your limited mind. They are not the reality. Because past is what? What your mind has projected. Future, what you conceive through your mind. All that you conceive through your mind, past, present, or future, they are mental projections. And every mind has its own special way to project. Even the idea of every mind is mental projection. So as long as your mind cannot get away from that illusion, the teaching comes, all that your mind conceives of past, present, future, all the world that you know is permeated by God. Every atom is permeated by God. Another point that's called all-permeating, all-pervading God. Another, that God is absolute power, omnipotent. And that God is absolute knower, sarvagnya. But whenever you hear these points, your mind has its own picture about it. God is absolute knower. That means nothing can happen unless God already knows it. So to you it seems that something future. But whatever you are getting, God has already written down on his diary. All past, present, and future has been recorded already in divine office. But this is all childish. It has nothing to do with the reality. Illusions are not written down. Sun creates countless illuminations and reflections. And no one can ever imagine that they have been all written down. And it follows exactly the way it has been written. This universe is called Vishwa in Sanskrit. That Brahman is never separated from the Vishwa. In fact, even the statement being separated, that's because you consider Vishwa, the world, the universe, as a reality. It has no reality. Just like desert is never separated from the mirage. But as long as mirage stays a reality in your mind, the description is that mirage is supported by desert. Desert is adhisthana, substrate. Another interesting point in the word Vishwa, Shwa term is important. In Hindi language, Shwa is translated as Kal. Kal kya hua? What happened yesterday? The term is used for past. Kal kya hone wala hai? What's going to happen tomorrow? The word kal is used for the yesterday as well as tomorrow. Sanskrit word shwa relates to the same thing. Yesterday, shwa. Tomorrow, shwa. The word process is moving on with yesterday and tomorrow. Yesterday and tomorrow. What about today? You can't stay with it. Your mind is either thinking of yesterday and what's going to happen tomorrow. Allegorical, you're always thinking in the terms of past and future. Your mind doesn't stick to the present. It's very slippery. Therefore, the word is called Vish. V means specialized, Vishesh. Shwa term is being used in a mystical manner. And that's how universe is described, Vishwa. Bring it more for easy understanding. When rivers flow, in the poetic language, river is praised by saying how wonderfully it moves, kal kal chal chal. The word kal kal, describing the beauty of the flow of water. And the whole world process flows. Kal, yesterday, tomorrow, kal kal. What happens to the present? Chal 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 chal. Present. You are robbed out of the present. Chal is you are cheated out. So the world flows on with, at every moment you are being cheated out of the reality. For very easy understanding, you watch cinema show. Show flows on. But show is based on projection after projection. Projection after projection. In between two projections, there is the present moment. But you are deceived out of that present. You simply see kal 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 kal, but behind the kal kal there is chal 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 chal. Whole show goes on with continuity. Also there is a continuity of deception. Both at the same time. That's the nature of the world. That pure consciousness is Mahadeva, Lord Shankara, Shiva. That pure consciousness is Vishnu, the sustainer of the universe. Pure consciousness is Brahma, the creator. That pure consciousness is the sun, the illuminer. But all these names of different aspects of God, all these are nothing but pure consciousness, absolute awareness. Chaitanya, Prajnanam Brahma. Brahman is pure awareness. Even that what we are saying is verbal expression. Just to remind you, that Brahman is the absolute reality. Prakriti is the magical power of Brahman. Prakriti translated as nature. Sattva predominating Prakriti is called Maya. Prakriti manifests in three stages. Sattva predominating, Maya. Rajas predominating, avidya, ignorance. Tamas predominating, tamasi Prakriti. That Brahman, through sattva predominating Prakriti, plays the role of Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the sustainer, Shiva, the destroyer. Same Brahman playing the role. But all this role is being played in a universe that is not real, illusory. Therefore, their acting roles are not reality. That applies to all actors. Can play Ravana, but we're not Ravana. And then, same Brahman, through Rajas predominating Prakriti, plays the role of countless souls evolving through the world process, jivas. Jivas are like, out of one sun, countless reflected suns arise. Wherever there is a mental process, there is a reflection. And that reflected self doesn't have all the knowledge. It is led by a conditioned mind. It is born in conditioned mind and led by the conditioned mind. Once the mind becomes unconditioned, the reflected self is nothing but the absolute. Sun reflecting in a jar, no matter how shaky and brittle the sun may appear to be, its reality is this. So is jiva, individual soul. Third aspect, same Brahman, expressing through tamas predominating Prakriti, tamasi Prakriti, becomes the source of all matter. Matter is described as Panchatanmatras. Panchatanmatras are ether, air, fire, water, earth. But these are root elements, subtlest seeds of the entire universe. In brief, the Tanmatras go to form your intellect, your ego, your chitta. It goes to form your subtle body, your causal body. Mind and matter both have come from that tamasi Prakriti. So then, conclusion behind all that, Brahman alone is. If a magician has created a lot of magical show, made people believe that the whole mango tree is growing right in front of them, and make them even distribute mangoes before them, and they are eating it, and some are breaking their teeth. I'm giving all the imagination. But simple point to understand is a magical show. Nothing is happening. This hypnotic show. Magic also is a hypnotic type. Sri Rama asked, this can be understood. The whole world is nothing but consciousness. Why is the need for giving special instructions to guiding souls to realize all these consciousness? When you know that even an ant has consciousness, flies have consciousness, you have consciousness. Every cell within you has certain degree of consciousness. Simple. This is a childlike reaction to the study of Vedanta. I know all is consciousness. But what you are being led to understand, that type of knowledge is not the purpose of the scripture. Because that knowledge is intellectual knowledge. How much can you grab in the information about the world into your mind? That doesn't in any way change your status. You stay. If you are tamasic, if you are under distress, you stay under distress. If you are positive, you continue to be in positive. In other words, knowing intellectually so many things have no bearing upon your practical life. You can have tons and tons of theory, best theory in the world. But all that is only a headache on your head. An ounce of practice has a totally different effect on your personality. So, if you consider gaining knowledge of the scriptures to fulfill your intellectual desire, that's from one point of view, yes, it's leading you on, but if you are satisfied only with your intellectual knowledge, you can get a big PhD and put the title in your house, and daily you can show to people, look, a PhD in Vedanta. I'm Trivedi, all the three Vedas. In other words, I'm Chaturvedi, all the four Vedas. But that's not liberation. As long as this knowledge, profound knowledge, Brahman alone is real, the non-dual absolute self, as long as that is not realized, every soul must suffer from bhavavyadhi, the disease of the world process, and be overpowered by bhavavhiti, the fear. You're haunted by fear day by day. Figure that out, see. Most highlighted aspect of fear is fear of death. It's instinctive from the very time one is born. Instinctive fear is there. You don't have to teach even the animals, birds, they have all instinctive fear. And a human being follows it. But instinctive fear in human level is not so disastrous as your imagination in being involved with your instinctive fear. Instinctive fear, the illustration is you are walking and suddenly a lizard jumps upon your head. You jump up. That's instinct. But you hardly enter the garden that your mind is imagining that big hurricane is coming. And all your garden is going to be just destroyed. And your newly bought beautiful house is going to be blown up. The animals have the benefits to just stay instinctive. The human being enlarges that instinct through imagination. And that's all that is called bhavabhiti, the fear of the world process. You don't attain liberation led by your karmas. First, even in this life, how things are going to happen in future. Every human mind, unless you even allow your mind to be trained to go through japa, meditation, and think of God, if you don't, then your mind is constantly busy. Can I secure this? Can I continue to have my teeth, my nose, my ears? And so forth. Oh, that's called bhava-bhiti. Another aspect, what will be the predicament in next birth? Will I become a kitty cat? Will I become a human being? Where will I be? Alaska. I'm not joking at Alaska. Led by ignorance, if the soul is not enlightened, then the soul's movement is in the world that's projected by the mind. That world is called Bahirmukh movement, externalized movement. In that externalized movement, there is no absolute rest. There is no perfection, no complete fulfillment. Think of the best dream you can have to attain in your life. Become extremely successful in your job. Go viral. Come to even this stage, that type of success we have never seen in the past, nor can I imagine in the future. But what happens in the end? I don't have to describe it. Look at, in brief, mortality sets in, and everyone kicks the bucket. What you do with the bucket is a different matter. The soul kicks it. So this is a Bahirmukhi process. Looking for fulfillment in the realm of your mind, in your mental projections. Real fulfillment is that movement that enables you to have a kind of intuitive understanding that in the realm of mental projection, in the world of time, space, causation, no matter how great position you may attain, it's transient. You can be a pole star, but ultimately all stars are transient. All the great history you can go on building up on this earth planet. But the planet itself is transient. So all your attainment becomes vyarth. Vyarth means vain, in vain. That movement, that awareness, that awakening, that makes you free of triad, seer, seen, and sight. Yoga-Vasha uses in this text only the term sight. Drishya, the whole world of your experience. As long as you have a world to experience, you are in a state of bondage. As long as, let me get back to easier way to understand, when you dream, you have become, your consciousness has turned into three illusions. The dream subject, the dream world, and experiences of pleasure and pain in your dream world. All the three don't exist. But if you continue to hold the idea of finding perfect condition in your dream world, and that's what happens. While dreaming also you have the same mind. Why am I facing this marshy land? Why shouldn't I have the wings and fly like a bird? In dream you have a little freedom. You begin to fly. And definitely, what a wonderful experience. But can that experience be permanent? And does that have any bearing upon reality? That's all the three aspects, seer, seen, and sight, they are defective, illusory. But exactly the same applies when you are in day-to-day practical reality. No one knows exactly who am I. Even from ordinary point of view, if you consider your body as me, as I am, you don't know it. You have to go to a doctor. And there are so many doctors. I will not go into details. So many specializations. Your mind is defective. You go through psychologists, psychoanalysts. In other words, you don't know yourself. You don't know yourself even to the extent of just your fingernail. So, who am I? That's big. What is the reality in me? That's a profound quest. Turn your attention to the world. People have so many things they are going into research. Countless things. Even just knowing a little leaf and all that is involved in it. From that little to going after all the big stars and stars that even they shine and they are not there. And the mystery behind it. And million suns shine. And while we are involved with only one little sun, in this type of world, where everything is illusory, kind of magic, you feel you are very restful. But you have modern devices, you put on your arm, that will tell you how long did you sleep, how long you dreamt. The Earth planet itself is like a spacecraft. In that world, you cannot expect to have a perfect setting where you can just sit down in couch, enjoy eternal peace. That's impossible. Just like if you are caught in dream, the resolution is waking up. Similarly, spiritual enlightenment is the answer. That enlightenment is termed in two ways, bhakti and mukti. I can turn it in three ways, shakti, bhakti and mukti. Shakti is strength. create strength by your mantra japa, your good conduct, your righteous deeds. That's called Kriya Yoga, Karma Yoga. Bhakti, develop devotion, meditation, blended movement. And jnana is intuitional movement, not intellectual no understanding, but intellect that undergoes a complete transformation. In order to attain enlightenment, you should not have a slightest attraction towards objects of the world. Just like in order to be fully awake, you should not hold on to anything of your dream. In your dream, you have just found a wonderful berry and you are about to put it in your mouth and you wake. Another version of it, you wake up and you find the berry. The implication is somehow you have lost your mind. You are still in dream. If you hold on to dream reality, even the slightest way, then you are not awake. If you hold on to the world, even in the slightest way, then you are not enlightened. You are not liberated. Liberation is absolute moving away, realization of truth, pure consciousness. That's the reality behind every soul. But as long as your soul is attracted to objects of the world, as long as your soul is confined to the world of time, space, causation, or as long as your soul is involved with mental projections, that soul is not liberated. Even in daily life, as long as your soul is involved with projections of your mind, you are awake and you need to go to sleep. When you sleep, the soul gives up all those attractions and doesn't lose anything. If you follow the moral, spiritual lesson that you learn from your sleep, that will give you the idea of what will happen in samadhi, etc. This point has to enter the heart that even when the world were to move away, you are not going to be at a loss. Example, your sleep. Next point, as long as the world doesn't move away, you are sick. Bhavavyadhi, disease of the world process. Third point, let the world move away, not like sleep, because then after sleep you wake up again. Move away for complete, absolute. That's called liberation. The world that you experience, that world does not exist. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. That's the big formula, big mantra. That Brahman alone is real. And that Brahman is Aham Brahmasmi. I am, not the ego I am. But realizing I am Brahman will not be possible as long as you are identified with your mind. And you are looking for perfection through your mental concepts. The entire drishya, the world you experience through your mind, it has three planes: physical reality, sentimental reality created by your feelings, and reality created by your ideas and insights. As long as all the three, bhur, bhuva, swa, are completely negated as absolute zero, there cannot be kaivalya, the absolute state of liberation. So what is needed is badh. Badh means negating the three planes: physical, subtle, causal. Put it in more simpler way, understanding that you are not the physical body. You are not the vital sheath that makes the body move and be alive. You are not the mind and senses that experience this fascinating world in 1,000 ways. You are not the intellect and ego that evaluates all things. And you are not the chitta, the unconscious that stores up all. When all this, I am not the three bodies, I am not the five sheaths, that becomes a foundational study for practicing Vedanta. And it has to be studied not to stay only in an intellectual way. All these three bodies and five sheaths, they are like mirage, and they have to be negated. If you consider the statement that certain jiva attained Brahman, the statement has to be understood in a profound. If you take it literally, then you develop a concept in your mind that all those people who attain liberation, they are living with God, along with their pets and many other things. Are enjoying heaven. With that description, that God becomes as worldly as the jiva is. And that's not the reality. Jiva does not become. Jiva is product of illusion. Illusion breaks. When darkness breaks, it is not something doesn't happen in a practical way. You don't see the darkness lying down dead. Darkness, it doesn't exist. This point is again and again hammered on the mind, that enlightenment is intuitive revelation of the truth. You are not creating the truth. All your attainments in life, you are creating them. You have to work for it, and you make a change within your body, within your mind, within your nervous system. Everything you are creating. The process called becoming. You are always becoming. But the spiritual enlightenment is not like becoming. Recovering, realizing, being. All reflected suns are constantly changing every moment. They are becoming. The sun is just the being. And that type of relation has to be understood between the state of enlightenment and the state of bondage. In bondage, you are involved with mental projections. In liberation, the entire mental projection, along with the mind, subsides. A reality has no problem. It's self-effulgent. That reality continues to be ever-present reality. Every aspect of your awareness has its source, Brahman alone. All your awareness are in fact reflections in pure consciousness. And this point we will continue. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.